Hey guys, and welcome to episode 4 of the Founder Academy. I just want to take this opportunity to apologize for being a little bit lazy about uploading. I've been a little bit slow about it. It's been a busy couple of weeks, but what I want to do is start grinding these out, get these out every couple days or so. So you guys have regular content on the go. You know, this is some older footage. I believe some of it's from FUT birthday even, and we're approaching team of the season, so that's unacceptable on my part. And I promise I will be a lot better about uploading because I do want to start rolling these out, especially as we get closer to FIFA 18. I want to become more of a regular uploader. With FUT birthday coming up, there was a lot going on in FIFA. There's a lot of packs, a lot of SBCs, a lot of things going on. So, you know, lots of content for me to start rolling through and lots of comments that I want to make about what they're doing with FIFA. I also want to take the opportunity to thank everybody who supported the series early on. Some of the early subscribers, you guys have been awesome about watching the content on a regular basis. So thank you, and I appreciate you guys helping to grow the series. Let's get into the actual action here. As we head into this first game, we see that this guy's got a full La Liga team, or Liga Santander team, as you can see, put it together. No real stars. Carrasco's not a bad player. Kovacic, Rafinha, Suarez in the midfield, Correa up front. No one that we can't handle, but at least this guy had the wherewithal to actually put a team together. As you see in Division 9, which we're in right now, and in Division 8, you're going to start seeing better teams come up. You're going to start seeing teams that have informs, SBC cards, you know, potentially even some, not as likely as many of the FUT champions red cards, but you know, some of the more high-rated cards, even some of the Team of the Years potentially, or some Team of the Seasons coming up. But we're going to start coming up against some better teams. So what I want to do is get rounded off on the team. Right now we've still got 3 bronzes, including the keeper and the 2 wing backs. So as you'll see later in the video, my goal for this episode is to play 2 games and then to definitely get that team rounded off. You know, we're rolling through the divisions quicker than we can even hope for, better, you know, quicker than we can even put the teams together. So what I want to do is get a team that can compete, because as I mentioned, we're going to start coming up against some beastlier teams. This guy, he had a very, you know, he had a decent team, as you guys saw early on in the video, but he wasn't able to necessarily score. He was peppering my goal early on, but it was back and forth, especially in the first half. He was a big fan of the Burba spin. In terms of skill moves, if you know what you're doing, they're fantastic. However, if you're just going to sit there and abuse them, they're easy to read defensively. So it's not something that you want to necessarily do every single time. I do recommend learning some of the basics, including ball rolls, the fake shots. They're easier ones to accomplish, and they're very, very overpowered in the game. The Burba spin is great, but as I mentioned, if you are going to sit there and abuse it, for me it was easy to read. He caught me once or twice on it, and then I knew that this guy was going to do, because what you'll see is when the guy's sprinting, what he'll do is he'll stop, because he has to stop the speed in order to actually execute the move. So you know that a skill move's coming. When he's sprinting into the box and he just slows down, you either just hold jockey or you basically just sit there and wait for him to turn into you. So not super hard to read. I was able to weather the storm early, and we were able to get a goal. It took until the second half because we were going back and forth. A couple opportunities with Lukaku early on, but his finishing very inconsistent, as I'll speak to in a little bit. He can be very frustrating because he doesn't necessarily play as consistent. He does smash this effort home, but as you saw earlier on, he was scuffing really simple shots. His weak foot is not that great. I don't ever seem to score with his right foot. His left foot can be, you know, tremendous when you give him open space. He can hammer shots home, but he's not going to score too many finesse goals. He'll score the odd one because he is an 84 rated striker. He does have decent finishing, but I find him overall not to be a striker that I necessarily like, because I do find him quite clunky. As you can see here, he does open up enough space that he can hammer a shot into the top corner, but in really tight quarters, which you have to start playing at when you're playing at higher levels, having guys that are higher agility, that are easier, you know, players to turn. Players, you know, like Messi and Iniesta, they might not be strong enough, but at least they're agile enough that they can maneuver in really tight areas. My dream striker is Sergio Aguero, really quick, really good shooting, really high agility. He can kind of wiggle through tight areas. Lukaku's kind of the opposite. The Harry Kanes, the Lukakus, even Zlatan. To me, I'm not necessarily a massive fan of Zlatan. He's a great player in terms of his skills, but he's not necessarily the type of striker that I like to use, just because I do find that they are a little bit bigger and clunkier, and they're not as rapid. So if you do beat a guy in a skill move, you want to be able to jet into space, and these guys don't necessarily have that. If you've got Player of the Month Lukaku, different story. You know, he's a little bit faster, so maybe he does have that acceleration. But for the regular Lukaku, they're more of hold-up guys. You have to do kind of create space with them, but they can smash shots home if you can create the space. But that's a big if. If creating space in this FIFA is very hard, especially in Ultimate Team. So as we finish that first game, not a crazy amount of pressure put on me. It was a very back and forth first half, but I was able to score early in the second half. He did start pushing up, and we were able to get that second goal in there. So credit to that opponent. He was a very good opponent. However, we were able to weather the storm early on and then come out with that 2-0 victory. So we do use the coins to pick up Suarez, who's going to be the left back there from Crystal Palace. Suarez is just a decent pace guy. He's got good defending, good physical stats. Those are really the biggest two stats that you should really look for. Look for the anchor stats, so the anchor chemistry stats. So pace, defending, and physical, especially on your center backs. On the wing backs, the left back and the right back, I look for passing as well. So passing is more of the wild card. If they've got decent passing, I would sacrifice some of the pace, sacrifice some of the defending in order to get the passing stat up there. We did pick up an injury, however, in that match, Iheanacho. Iheanacho's an interesting one. I was expecting him to be an Ahmed Musa type, not just because of the fact that he's from Nigeria, but because I thought his stats were going to be kind of likely to be some of the sweatier stats that you need in order for a striker to be really prolific in this game, but I didn't find him to be that way. I found him to be kind of a poor man's Lukaku, and as I just mentioned, not a massive fan of Lukaku. I found that Iheanacho may be a little bit more agile, maybe a little bit better in terms of tight quarters in his passing, but he wasn't really impressive me. I was expecting more from him, to be totally honest with you. And picking up that injury, I know that's kind of not his fault in this case, but it was frustrating because I did want to see him come out there and jet into space like Ahmed Musa can, like Andre Gray's, the really rapid guys. But I just didn't feel that from Iheanacho. So as we head into the second game, this guy's team, very odd setup. He had Alex Hunter up front, Lone Gray, Lone Mahrez, Lone Ali, but he did use Riyad Mahrez as the central center midfielder in a 4-3-1-2. So that showed me that he didn't really know what he was doing in terms of team composition. He did have Marwan Fellaini, but he was using him as a left center mid. Marwan Fellaini's an interesting one. I don't like Marwan Fellaini as a player in real life. I find him to be terrible, but he actually is not a bad player in FIFA. He's got some very good stats that fit to the meta of the game in terms of his ability to be really physical and actually have decent, well-rounded stats. So he can be a very effective player if you know how to use him. But this guy didn't really know how to use him. He was just taking the ball, and as you'll see throughout this game, he was just smashing shots from crazy angles. Not even crazy angles, but just from way too far out. He was just running as fast as he can and hammering the ball as hard as he can from like the most ridiculous distances with players like Fellaini, who don't even really have that good long-distance shooting. So throughout this first half, we were kind of peppering him. He wasn't really threatening our goal. He was just shooting from these crazy lengths away, but we weren't able to necessarily finish. We did smash some shots against like the post and hammer shots over the bar, but it was one-way traffic. We were able to score, get some of the pressure off of Lukaku, but as you see here, he was just kind of running at full blast and just hitting it as hard as he can. So we take that off that long distance throw there, not long distance throw, but a long throw from the keeper, and we basically catch him on the break. This guy also defensively was rushing in. I never recommend rushing in. Defensively, tactically, what I always recommend, especially for new guys, is don't control the midfield, or don't control the defenders. As much as I hate to encourage that, letting the computer defend, the computer is very overpowered in this game in terms of their abilities to defend. So if you just let the computer hold shape, control one of the midfielders, either the CDM or one of the two central midfielders, and basically come in and clean up. So if you have like a player like Smalling or Bailly, basically let the computer just stay in front of them, and then you come in with the second man and you just dispossess that attacker. That's what I always recommend. Don't rush in. Don't just run forward. Don't run as quick as you can, because all you're going to do is ticky-tacky your way through it, and you're going to be in on goal. You should never really allow breakaways. They do happen. You're going to slip up eventually, but there's not really an excuse for that. You should essentially be able to control it, especially the computer. The computer is very rarely, if ever, going to run and lunge at a player. He's just going to stay in front of it. So if you let the computer do the defending, you're very rarely going to get actually hit on counters. As you can see, they're holding shape quite well. It's forcing this guy to take shots that he really shouldn't. So for us, you can see that he's just diving in, he's getting more panicky, and he's just hitting the ball as quickly as he can because he doesn't really know what to do, and he's just diving into tackles. It's allowing us to just smash shots on goal. This game was a lot more one-sided than the first game, but however, we didn't actually have that many clear opportunities. We had some shots that I was, happy to take, but he was rushing in, and his defenders were actually breaking up the play. I don't, again, encourage it, but it happens. So as you can see, we're hitting shots over the bar. It was very frustrating in that sense because I didn't want to beat the guy like 10-12 nothing, especially when he's rushing in, but those do happen. So you can see again another opportunity there where he just dives in. I see the player streaking at the far post. Lukaku hammers it against the ground. Got a little lucky because the keeper parried it into his own net, but we'll take it for the amount of opportunities that I've missed, especially with my strikers that haven't necessarily been that prolific. They've taken the odd chance, but they should be taking them a little bit better. But that happens when you're using players on basic, when you don't have necessarily the strikers that fit to your play style the best. So we'll hope to become a lot more proficient in front of goal. But we do get caught on the counter here. That was a mistake. I didn't mean it to go all the way back to the defender. My mistake there. We do get caught on him streaking downfield. Nice play to break away from the defender, and then he sweats it across goal and smashes. So 3-1. I think that was, I hate to say it, but it was a little misleading in terms of the result. I think it was a lot more one-sided, but I have no problem. The guy was, he wasn't being a dick or anything like that. He was playing really good fair FIFA. He was diving in a little bit, but other than that, he stayed till the end. He wasn't doing anything stupid, so I don't mind conceding against guys that are actually, playing fair. If you can't beat them, fair and square. But we do come out with the result, 3-1. So 2 victories from the 2 games in this game and the last game, and I'm happy with that because we only concede 1 goal. Right now, all I want to do is make sure that I'm not conceding dumb goals. We did concede that 1 goal, which was a little bit annoying, but beating these guys in Division 10, Division 9, Division 8 isn't necessarily, as awful as it sounds, a necessarily major accomplishment. What I'm trying to do is just become a lot more patient and not concede, because I know the goals will come as we get better players, but I want to make sure that I can round my team off and become a more balanced team, and making sure that I'm stronger defensively is probably more the concern right now. So as we finish our 2 games, I did add this part onto the end of the video because what I wanted to show you guys was the SBCs. As you can see, this was older footage from FUT Birthday, so again, I apologize for the delay in this, but what I wanted to leave this in was to show you guys that there are some SBCs that are really important. You should keep your eyes on it. So with this SBC, I noticed that you only needed 8 chemistry and 8 team rating, which was essentially you could just throw players in there. They didn't even have to be in the right position. As soon as you filled up the team with minimum 8 goal players, you'd fill out the requirements for it. We did have to use some of the players that we were using in the team, including Stecklenburg and Darren Fletcher. So that was a little bit annoying, but my whole thought process with this was not only to get the pack, but in order to get a full gold pack, we had to sacrifice some of our untradables that didn't necessarily have value, but the value for us in the long term was getting this, a gold players pack. Only 1 rare, but even if none of the players have any value, we can discard them and they'll come out worth more than any of the value that I had to actually put into that SBC. So I look at the team right here, or I look at the players that we got in that pack. There wasn't anything major, but even if you can get some of the money, even for some of the silvers only discard for maybe like 100 coins, but even if you can sell them for 200-300 coins a piece, you can make your money back. Or you can save them if you don't need players right away, or if you don't need the coins right away, just put them in your club and you can save these cards and use them when you need them, because there's going to be SBCs that come out where you can actually sell these cards and make big money on them. Some of the Dutch players when they have marquee matchups, those types of things. But with that pack, all I wanted to do was discard any of the cards that didn't sell and potentially flip some of these cards to make money on them. So as you can see here, we did fill out as much of the team as we can, and then with the rest of the cards that we got from that pack, there was only 2 cards that were discardable. A Wharton, I think, was one of them, and Feelhaber was the other one. So 300 coins, 600 coins, you know, for those 2 players. That was almost the amount of value that we had to go in order to get some of the cards that we'd use to input into the actual team. And then we would go and sell the rest of the cards here. So Cristofaldo, I think, was 400, another 400, 800 for that French guy, 400, 400, 650 for Falque, and then 800 for Raphael. So as you can see, that leaves us with 5,122 coins. So big and very important for us, because this gives us some actual useful coins that we can use to buy some really good players to head into the end of Division 9 and into Division 8 with. So what we're going to do is we're going to pick up Emre Can, as you can see there. We picked up Kasper Schmeichel. I wish Peter Schmeichel. But Kasper Schmeichel, who I'm a big fan of, he's got great speed for a keeper, 62 speed. Even his informs are even better. But that speed's very underrated stat for a keeper, because it's how quickly they get up after making a save and how it affects their reflexes. Ryan Bertrand, another player that we're going to pick up. We just wanted to kind of cheap out on the left back there because we're hoping to just, you know, improve that next. But what I wanted to do was just get some of the midfielders and get that keeper down and go out and finally get the last player, which is going to be Idrissa Gueye. So why I chose him and Emre Can is I want to get center midfielders because they can play CDM, they can play cam, and they can play center mid, and we can use all those to just rotate around. So these are really important factors, because for those players, we can rest them, we can bring them on, we can bring in the cams like Loftus-Cheek. He can play cam or he can play center midfield, and we can just rotate that full rotation of players. When players get tired, we're not going to be using fitness cards as much. If we can get 3 or 4 strikers, we can rotate them in, and that way we're not having to waste our money buying fitness cards, which are, you know, 2 to 1,000 coins if you're getting a team fitness. This is going to be the end of the video though, guys, so please leave a like on the video, leave any comments or questions you have down below in the comments section, and if you haven't already, please subscribe to the channel. I look forward to seeing you guys in episode 5. Thanks.